people who are a different color than I am. There are the people who don't speak the language that I speak. There's all kinds of people who I might think are not the ones who I want to help me, even when I'm in deep trouble. I'm maybe not so excited about wanting to have a neighbor who's got psychiatric illnesses. I'm maybe not so excited about having the neighbor that's the group home, except for what I have discovered with having group homes is that they've got the youth who are the most supervised as compared to my neighbors who have teenagers who are not supervised. so that was a really interesting discovery that really you want teenage group homes in your neighborhood. This is a challenging text for us. And it's not a text about random acts of kindness. It's a text about intentional acts of kindness. And as I was thinking about this, I was having a little bit of fun. I was thinking about who's the lawyer. And part of it is that we stereotype lawyers and have some fun at their expense sometimes, but I tell you, when you need a lawyer, you're really glad there's lawyers. But in this case, lawyer is understood to be an expert in the law of Moses. Right? Because the law of Moses is the moral code. So like a lawyer, this expert in the law of Moses helps the community to understand how we live. And of course, this is a couple thousand years ago. But even still, they understood the word to be a living word. And how do we understand it? So I'm thinking, we live in a seminary town. We've got all kinds of experts in the law of Moses in this city. And I'm thinking some of you know them. I mean, we've got Reverend Dr. Bill Nelson, who's a member here. He would be an expert. I'm sure many of you know Reverend Dr. Irwin Buck. He's an expert in the law of Moses. And my personal favorite, who was my prof at seminary, Reverend Dr. Roger Weedy, who worships down in Zion, he's an expert in the Old Testament. Right? You see, the lawyer in this story, it's somebody you know. And if you don't know the current seminary professors at the various seminaries here in town, then think back to a high school teacher, well-educated, well-respected, knowledgeable in the area that they teach in. You see, the lawyer is somebody you trust. You know. It's not a stereotype. It's not that somebody else. And so when Jesus then goes on to push the seminary professor just a little bit further, the one who we know, he tells this story. It's like, we get so used to those priests and those Levites, those Pharisees, you know, we look down our nose at them all the time because they never get story, and you guys know this story. It's this one and the prodigal son. These are like the two biggest stories that everybody knows, right? It's the Levite. And you go, oh, yeah, the Levite, you know those Levites. And you roll your eyes to the back. I'm going, no. You know the Levite. The Levite is the temple assistant, right? That the tribe of Levi, they are the temple assistants. It's Nathan. Who other than Nathan? Our perfect example of the temple assistant who is loyal and prepared and gentle and tender-hearted. He's walking down the road too. Sees the person in the ditch.
Okay.
He keeps walking, right? And you hear about this. And you kind of go, what am I supposed to do with that? Two people who I highly respect, and I know them. It's not just those gossipy stories in the news. You know these people. What do you do with it? Well, I talk to you guys all the time about being imitators of Christ. And Harley and Nathan are imitators of Christ, and does that mean that you're supposed to imitate that behavior? Because you see, who comes along to help the person in the ditch? It's the one who's your bitter rival. It's the one who you dislike. It's the one who you cannot trust. And it wasn't many decades ago in this province where ethnic divisions would have been enough for us to walk by. We still do it. It's about kindness that Jesus is talking. It's not about who is your neighbor. It's about who's kind to you. And who's kind to you is a neighbor. Go and do likewise. Sometimes even people who we hold up in high esteem make mistakes. So their behavior is not one to be imitated, but rather it's one to be forgiven. It's one to be called into task. Kindness. Not random. Go and do. It's intentional. I'm incredibly blind a lot of the time, not just visually, but internally. I don't know how many of you have seen this booklet out on the display stand. It's been there for a couple of weeks. I noticed it a couple of weeks ago. I picked it up and I saw that it was from Lutheran Foundation, and I looked in it, I saw it's a devotion book, and I went, isn't that nice? I wonder who dropped it off. And that was all I did with it. This week, as I'm thinking a lot about kindness, I'm walking to get my hot water, walk past the stand. Kindness jumps out at me. And I'm going, oh, I wonder what it's really about. Kindness is the language that the blind can see and the deaf can hear. Kindness. And kindness comes from the most strange and unexpected of people. Not always from the ones who look just like you, or speak the same language as you, or have the same color of skin as you. There are some great devotions in here. And it's about kindness. And I said,